The internet has absolutely lost its mind over what's happening with D4VD right now, and honestly, I don't blame them. A 19-year-old singer whose Tesla was found with a decomposing body inside has set shockwaves through social media, and the deeper people dig, the more disturbing this whole situation becomes. We're talking about D4VD police raids, house searches, serious allegations involving a missing girl named Celeste. And if you're wondering how old is D4VD and whether he's been charged, stick around because this story gets darker with every new detail that emerges. From his obsession with death in his music to a bizarre alter ego that seems to predict real-life tragedy, did D4VD get caught up in something way more sinister than anyone imagined? The D4VD chase for answers has led investigators down a rabbit hole that's making fans question everything they thought they knew about this rising star. But before we dive into this absolute madness, smash that subscribe button because apparently even true crime content needs more subscribers than a serial killer needs victims. Too dark. Yeah, probably too dark. So let's start from the beginning of this nightmare. On September 8th, 2024, a Tesla sitting in a Hollywood impound lot started giving off a smell that made workers want to call in sick permanently. When they finally investigated, they discovered something that would turn the music industry upside down: a decomposing body in the trunk. The car was registered to David Anthony Burke, better known to millions of fans as D4D, the 19-year-old singer who'd been climbing the charts with hits like Romantic Homicide and Here With Me. Initially, fans were in complete denial. Social media exploded with theories that his car had been stolen while he was on tour. After all, how could their beloved artist be connected to something so horrific? Some fans even created elaborate theories about car theft rings targeting celebrities. The cognitive dissonance was real. Here was a young artist who'd built his career on emotional, vulnerable music, and suddenly his vehicle was at the center of a potential homicide investigation. But everything changed when authorities identified the victim. The body belonged to 15-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez, a girl who'd been missing since April 2024. She was just 13 when she first disappeared from Lake Elsinore, California. Her mother had already suspected something was wrong when news of the Tesla discovery broke, especially since her daughter had mentioned having a boyfriend named David. The identification was confirmed through forensics, but what really sent chills down everyone's spine was the discovery of matching tattoos. Both D4VD and Celeste had identical markings on their fingers. The timeline is absolutely haunting. Celeste had been reported missing multiple times throughout 2024, with her final disappearance occurring on April 5th. Her last known contact with her family was a phone call at the end of May 2024. For months, her family lived with the uncertainty of not knowing where she was, while D4VD continued his rise to fame, performing at festivals and building his fan base. What makes this even more disturbing is how quickly the internet connected the dots. Photos allegedly showing D4VD near Celeste's home shortly before her disappearance started circulating on social media. Fans began digging through his music catalog and discovered a leaked song where he repeatedly referenced a girl named Celeste. Discord server screenshots allegedly showing interactions between the two began spreading like wildfire across Twitter and TikTok. But that wasn't even the most unsettling part of this digital investigation. The rabbit hole got deeper when people started analyzing D4VD's online presence with forensic-level detail. Fans discovered that he'd been seen with another girl named Celeste during live streams, not the missing Celeste, but a different person entirely. This coincidence sent conspiracy theorists into overdrive. What were the chances that someone allegedly connected to a missing girl named Celeste would then publicly associate with another person of the same name? One streamer named Jason had to publicly clarify that the Celeste he'd met with D4DVD at the Phase House was not the victim, but the damage to D4DVD's reputation was already spreading faster than a California wildfire. The internet had made up its mind, and every piece of content D4DVD had ever created was being scrutinized through this new, sinister lens. Meanwhile, law enforcement wasn't sitting idle. LAPD executed a search warrant on a Hollywood Hills home where D4DVD had been staying with his manager. This wasn't just any random property, it was the same location where the Tesla had been abandoned. Investigators seized electronics, collected evidence, and basically turned the place upside down, looking for clues about what happened to Celeste. The house search revealed that D4D had been living there regularly, which immediately raised questions about his knowledge of the vehicle's contents. How do you not know there's a decomposing body in your own car? The logistics alone seem impossible to ignore. This wasn't some random parking lot miles away. This was his residence. As news of the search spread, D4D's team went into crisis management mode. But perhaps the most chilling aspect of this entire situation wasn't what investigators found in the present, it was what fans discovered in D4D's past content that truly sent shivers down everyone's spine. And trust me, if you think it's been dark so far, you haven't seen anything yet. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button because apparently we're all gluttons for punishment here.
Enter Itami, D4V's alter ego that now feels less like creative expression and more like a confession. For years, D4V had been developing this character as part of an elaborate multimedia project. Itami, which means pain in Japanese, was described as the evil version of himself who committed crimes that D4V the detective would then solve. Sound familiar? Because it should. In interviews that have now been viewed millions of times, D4V enthusiastically described this character with an unsettling level of detail. He explained how Itami would appear in his music videos, commit murders, and create chaos while D4V played the role of the detective trying to solve his own crimes. The concept was supposedly inspired by Fight Club and manga storytelling, but knowing what we know now, it feels infinitely more sinister.
During his recent tour, the one he was forced to cancel due to this investigation, D4VD had been performing elaborate funeral ceremonies for Itami. Fans would literally write letters to the dead and participate in mourning rituals for this fictional character. The theatrical elements included caskets, funeral decorations, and what can only be described as cult-like devotion to this death-obsessed persona. In one particularly chilling interview from just 3 months before Celeste's body was discovered, D4VD went into extensive detail about a music video where Itami's life was taken and his body was transported in the trunk of a car. The parallels to real life are so disturbing that many people refuse to believe they're coincidental. How does someone create fictional content that so closely mirrors an actual tragedy?
The One More Dance music video, which D4VD described as showing cult members carrying him in a trunk after his death, now feels like evidence rather than entertainment. He spoke about this concept with genuine excitement, describing how years of world building were finally coming together in his artistic vision. The irony is suffocating. D4VD had branded himself around the number 4, claiming it represented different worlds in his creative multiverse. He'd planted Itami throughout his music videos as an Easter egg for dedicated fans, building anticipation for some grand revelation about the character's motives. That revelation came all right, just not in the way anyone expected. But the most disturbing detail might be the timing of his social media activity. On September 7th, the day before Celeste's body was discovered and also her birthday, D4VD posted about his upcoming deluxe album release. The caption read like a love letter to his creative process. With her deluxe Marcescence out September 19th, every song written exclusively by me on my phone, baby. This is a passion project I put together to make sure I didn't lose the raw emotional weight my music carries. The album title, Marcescence, sent internet detectives into a frenzy. Marcescence is a botanical term describing when trees retain their dead leaves through winter instead of shedding them in fall. Given that Celeste remains were found in a decomposed state, and considering reports that not all of her body was recovered, this terminology feels impossibly cruel. Were there deeper messages hidden in D4VD's artistic choices, or was this the world's most unfortunate coincidence?
His social media bios simply read Marcescence, a detail that now haunts everyone who sees it. The idea that someone might keep parts of the deceased, holding on to death the way trees hold on to dead leaves, is so disturbing that even hardened true crime fans are struggling to process it. As the investigation intensified, D4VD's behavior became increasingly suspicious to online observers. He continued performing and posting on social media even after Celeste's body was discovered. It was only after she was officially identified that he went silent and began canceling tour dates. This timing struck many as calculated rather than coincidental.
The music industry's response was swift and brutal. Interscope Records, Universal Music Group, Sony Music Publishing, and Wasserman all pulled their promotional support for D4vd amid the ongoing LAPD investigation. His deluxe album release was indefinitely postponed, and his European tour dates joined his American shows in cancellation. The collective message was clear. Until this situation resolves, D4vd's career is effectively on life support. Before we continue with the industry fallout and where things stand now, make sure you're subscribed because this channel covers cases that'll make you sleep with one eye open, or in D4vd's case, maybe both eyes.
The financial implications of this scandal are staggering. D4 was in the middle of a massive world tour that would have generated millions in revenue. His streaming numbers, while still significant due to morbid curiosity, are now associated with a potential homicide investigation rather than artistic achievement. Brand partnerships have evaporated, and his social media presence has shifted from promotional content to evidence in a criminal case. What's particularly haunting is how D4vd's fan base has fractured. Some remain convinced of his innocence, creating elaborate theories about frame jobs and coincidences. Others have completely distanced themselves, deleting his music from their playlists and removing concert photos from social media. The parasocial relationships that once drove his success have become sources of shame and confusion for many fans.
The psychological impact on his audience shouldn't be underestimated. These are often young people who found comfort and connection in D4vd's music, who saw him as relatable and authentic. Discovering that someone you admired might be connected to such violence creates a form of trauma that extends far beyond typical celebrity scandals. Meanwhile, investigators continue their work behind the scenes. The LAPD has been tight-lipped about specific evidence, but sources suggest they're building a comprehensive timeline of events leading up to Celeste's disappearance. Electronic devices seized from the Hollywood Hills home are being analyzed, and digital forensics experts are likely combing through years of communications, location data, and online activity.
The challenge for prosecutors, should charges eventually be filed, will be connecting D4vd directly to Celeste's death. Having a body discovered in your registered vehicle is certainly suspicious, but proving intentional harm requires evidence of motive, means, and opportunity. The matching tattoos, alleged social media interactions, and proximity to her home before her disappearance all paint a concerning picture, but circumstantial evidence requires careful legal handling. Public opinion, however, operates under different standards than criminal court. The court of social media has already rendered its verdict, with hashtags demanding justice for Celeste trending across platforms. True crime podcasters are dedicating entire series to the case, and amateur internet detectives are creating detailed timelines and evidence compilations that sometimes surpass professional journalism in their thoroughness.
What makes this case particularly modern is how much of the investigation is playing out in public. Every court document, every police statement, and every social media post becomes immediate public knowledge. D4vd's entire creative output is now being reanalyzed through the lens of potential criminal behavior,
creating a feedback loop where artistic expression becomes evidence and entertainment becomes investigation. The broader implications for artists and their creative freedom are troubling. If every song lyric, music video concept, and social media post can be retroactively interpreted as evidence of criminal intent, where does artistic expression end and confession begin? D4vd's case might set precedents for how creative content is evaluated in criminal proceedings. For Celeste's family, this public spectacle adds another layer of trauma to an already unimaginable loss. Their daughter's death has become internet content, her memory intertwined with speculation and conspiracy theories. The mother who suspected something was wrong when she heard about the Tesla discovery now faces a media circus surrounding her child's final months. The timeline of Celeste's disappearances throughout 2024 suggests a pattern of instability that predated her connection to D4vd. She had run away multiple times before her final disappearance in April, returning home safely on previous occasions. This history complicates the narrative and raises questions about her vulnerability and the circumstances that led to her association with an older, successful musician.
As we wait for official charges or statements from law enforcement, the entertainment industry is grappling with how to handle artists accused of serious crimes. The swift distancing by record labels and management companies suggests a new zero-tolerance approach to criminal associations, prioritizing corporate reputation over presumed innocence. But here's where things get even more complex. And don't forget to subscribe, because this rabbit hole goes deeper than a Christopher Nolan plot. The international scope of D4vd's fanbase means this story is playing out across different cultural and legal contexts. European fans who had tickets to his canceled shows are processing this news through different media landscapes and social attitudes toward crime and celebrity. The global nature of modern music promotion means that scandal travels as fast as success, but recovery and redemption face different cultural barriers. Social media platforms are struggling with how to handle D4vd's existing content. Should music videos featuring Itami be removed as potentially triggering, or do they remain as evidence of artistic expression? The line between censorship and sensitivity is being tested in real time, with different platforms taking varying approaches to content moderation. The true crime community's response has been particularly intense. This case combines several elements that drive engagement in that space: a young, attractive perpetrator, a vulnerable victim, mysterious circumstances, and plenty of digital evidence to analyze. However, the fact that this is an ongoing investigation rather than a closed case adds ethical complexities to the coverage. Amateur investigators on platforms like Reddit and TikTok are creating detailed analyses of D4vd's music, looking for hidden meanings and potential confessions. While some of this crowdsourced investigation has uncovered legitimately interesting connections, it also risks compromising the official investigation and spreading misinformation. The psychological profile emerging from public information suggests someone with a complex relationship to fame, death, and identity. D4vd's transformation from YouTube gamer to music star happened relatively quickly, and the pressure of sudden success might have contributed to whatever circumstances led to this tragedy. His artistic persona always contained dark elements: the Itami character, the death obsession, the elaborate funeral performances. In retrospect, these seem less like creative choices and more like warning signs. But this raises uncomfortable questions about where responsibility lies when artistic expression potentially foreshadows real harm. The music industry's response also reflects broader concerns about liability and association. Record labels invest millions in artists,
And scandals like this can destroy that investment overnight. The speed with which companies distance themselves from D4VD suggests they had contingency plans for exactly this type of situation.
For emerging artists, D4's fall serves as a cautionary tale about the permanence of digital footprints and the intensity of public scrutiny. Every social media post, every interview, and every creative choice can be recontextualized if circumstances change. The same online presence that builds careers can destroy them. The legal proceedings, when they eventually begin, will likely be complicated by the extensive public documentation of evidence and speculation. Jury selection for any potential trial will be challenging, given the widespread media coverage and strong opinions already formed by potential jurors. As we've seen in other high-profile cases, the line between seeking justice and entertainment consumption becomes blurred when real tragedy intersects with celebrity culture. Celeste's death risks becoming a narrative device in a larger story about fame, rather than being honored as the loss of a young life with inherent value.
The investigation continues, and until official charges are filed or statements are made, much of what we're discussing remains speculation. However, the circumstantial evidence and disturbing coincidences have created a compelling case in the court of public opinion, regardless of what happens in actual court. What's certain is that D4VD's career, as it existed before September 8, 2024, is over. Whether he's ultimately charged with any crimes or not, the association with Celeste's death will follow him forever. The internet doesn't forget, and Google searches don't expire. And that brings us to where we stand today. D4VD remains free while investigators continue their work, but his silence speaks volumes to those watching. His social media accounts, once filled with promotional content and fan interactions, now feel like digital crime scenes, where every old post is re-examined for hidden meaning.
The entertainment industry has moved on, as it always does, but the questions raised by this case will linger. How well do we really know the artists we support? What responsibility do platforms have for monitoring content that might predict real-world harm? And how do we balance artistic freedom with public safety concerns? For now, Celeste's family continues to grieve while seeking answers. Her body was finally returned to them after weeks in the coroner's office, allowing them to begin the process of laying her to rest. But the questions surrounding her final months alive may never be fully answered, regardless of what the legal system ultimately determines. The D4V8 case represents something new in how scandal unfolds in the digital age. Every aspect of this story has been documented, analyzed, and debated in real time by millions of people worldwide. It's true crime meets social media meets the music industry, creating a perfect storm of public fascination and genuine tragedy.
As this investigation continues, we'll be watching to see what develops. Will charges be filed? Will D4vd eventually break his silence? Will the full truth about what happened to Celeste ever emerge? These questions will likely define this case for months or years to come. What we can say with certainty is that a 15-year-old girl lost her life under circumstances that should never happen to anyone. Whatever led to Celeste's death, her memory deserves more than becoming a footnote in someone else's rise and fall story. She had dreams, relationships, and a future that was stolen from her far too soon. So as we follow this case, let's remember that behind all the speculation and analysis is a real family dealing with real grief. Justice for Celeste means more than satisfying our curiosity about celebrity scandal. It means finding answers and accountability for those responsible for her death. That's where we stand in the D4vd investigation as of now. The story continues to unfold and new information emerges regularly. Make sure you're subscribed and have notifications on because when this case breaks wide open, you'll want to be the first to know, assuming you can handle sleeping at night afterward. Thanks for watching, and remember, sometimes the most disturbing stories are the ones that start with someone you thought you knew. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you in the next video where we'll hopefully discuss something slightly less terrifying. Peace.